that Lauren Moon doesn't understand all the criticism that Cam is getting. So here's what he had to say to Fox Sports. That's the thing I don't understand. How come they just can't let it go? If he hasn't done anything recently that's been against the law or anything that would cause negative publicity, isn't out in the world doing something wrong except for just dancing after a touchdown, I mean, what is the big deal? He's worked toward maturity in the last 5 or 6 years he's been in the league and has done positive things to erase a lot of that negative stuff from what he was 18, 19 years old. I just don't know why people can't let all of that stuff go. Does Cam deserve all the criticism he's getting, George?
No, absolutely not. I mean, this is ridiculous. I've had this conversation on my radio show with people. I just legitimately one day just posed it. Okay, tell me why you don't like it if you don't like it. And I got all these ridiculous responses of, oh, the laptop thing at Florida. And I'm like, look, man, how many people do things when they're 18 or 19 years old that they live to regret? And they say, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. We've all done stupid things when we were young, and some of us even as we've gotten a little older.
Even an hour ago with me.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, we're talking, what, 6, 7, 8 years ago at this point? You got to be able to move on from that. And it also makes it seem like people can't evolve and people can't grow and learn from their mistakes. So that stuff to me drives me nuts. And then it's, oh, the showboating. Okay, so where do we draw the line? Because Aaron Rodgers did the discount double check all the way to a Super Bowl to the point where it's still a commercial as we speak. So it just seems to me that there's more being implied here potentially or inferred than what's being led on. And I know that Charles Barkley doesn't want to hear about race in this discussion, but look, Cam brought this discussion up too. Okay, so it's not like we're just making this stuff up. And I think that he realizes, Warren Moon has talked about it, that look, if you're inherently prejudiced or racist, you're not going to like him. We get it. But we're talking about the other people now, okay? We're talking about why is it that you're holding on to these things that happened years ago. Look at the guy you're seeing now. He's a great leader. His teammates seem to love him. I mean, adore him. Obviously, his coaches, all he does is talk great about his relationship with his coaches, including Ron Rivera, Mike Shula, Ken Dorsey, so on and so forth. They seem to only praise him internally and obviously outwardly as well. And then you see the stuff he does in the community. I mean, the kid he went to go see on Halloween, right? You're talking about a kid who was, I believe, diagnosed with cancer and was really ill. He wasn't there with a bunch of cameras. He was there, and the family ended up taking an Instagram photo, and then it became a viral thing. But this is the type of stuff he does, including the touchdown celebrations, giving footballs to kids. I don't get why we can't just get over all the nonsense from whether it's the pay-for-play, the alleged stuff there at Auburn, whether it's the laptop or the showboating. Move on, man. It's a game, okay? This isn't that serious. Let him have some fun and just acknowledge him for the person and the human being he is both on and off the field.
Okay. I don't think he deserves the criticism, but do I understand the reaction by some people? I do, and let me explain, because we just do not like change as human beings. And for what's it been, 40 years, we've seen the QB position, this venerated position in our society that seems to be synonymous in a lot of ways with like the military and leadership. We've seen it portrayed in a specific way, and oftentimes by people with a specific color. And if it was some black QBs in the past, the culture was different around how they occupied that position. So now Cam is bringing something completely different to it, and people do not like change. So I think there are some people who actually don't like celebrating QBs, and then there are some people who need to take a good, long, hard look at why they don't like Cam Newton's celebration and ask themselves if it is tied to race or if it is coded in some way about culture and racism. I think the thing is that we have this idea that when Peyton Manning or another QB throws a TD or rushes for a QB, not often Peyton Manning rushing for QBs, but other QBs, and hands it to the ref, that somehow that means that person, that man, that QB is humble and selfless. No, not necessarily. You are just seeing one facet of him in that moment. That doesn't have any reflection on how he might be off the field. And yet with Cam, we're seeing an authentic sort of like jubilant reaction to me, which I would rather see, because I feel like I'm getting the real Cam rather than just somebody handing off the ball, which I think means nothing. You're actually not getting any glimpse into anything at all. So I understand why some people are fired up, because to them, for some people, it comes down to they just don't like any athletes who celebrate. They don't like this shift that we've gone through with the NBA and in certain sports where personalities are more dominant. They like the whole like fall in line, quote unquote, team atmosphere. But I think there's a huge segment who are defending racism criticism and their own thoughts behind that.
But it's funny that you mentioned authenticity and you feel as though he's being authentic with his celebrations. I think there's a large population that feel as though he's not being authentic with those celebrations. I will admit that I was a part of that population.
Here's the deal with that, and whether you think he deserves criticism or not, that depends on what you bring to it, not what Cam Newton and his actions have brought to it. Because to bring some memory to everybody else's memory, he's been doing this the whole time in the National Football League. When they stuck in Carolina, he was still doing the Superman. He was still doing the celebrating. This is not something that has happened with Cam Newton that all of a sudden happened when they went 15-1 this year. No. He wasn't doing the Superman thing at Auburn, but he was running around like a little kid, enjoying himself the 1 year at Auburn where he led them to the national championship and he won a Heisman Trophy. So let's not kid ourselves. It's okay once in a while that you want to be slaves to the moment, but once in a while, crack open a book. Or at least go online to say, well, he started doing that. No, if you have any brain in your head, you've realized that he's always done this in the National Football League. People don't like it now because he's winning. And he's letting you know what he's doing and how he's winning. And he hasn't changed. We can go back to the whole race thing. And there's some racism elements to this because some people are never going to accept, whether you're black, whether you're Asian, whether you're Hispanic, that you're not on the same level as somebody else. There's plenty of men out there that don't want women on this broadcast, that don't want women on ESPN because of what they brought to the whole table. But here's the deal. Cam Newton, the one thing that people seem to forget about last week, he said, you can think what you want. I'm okay with it, but I'm going to do what I want, and whether you're okay with it or not, that's not my problem. That's your problem. So for anybody complaining about why is he celebrating, hey, they got NFL films all over the place. There's Google and YouTube everywhere. All you got to do is go back to his rookie season when he's tearing apart the league, and he was celebrating then. The difference now is that they're not 6-10. They're 60 minutes away from winning a championship, and that bothers some people because they want their guys to be like that guy over there. Well, you know what? When Tom Brady was yelling in people's faces, he yelled in Ryan Clark's face. Didn't hear one thing said about Tom Brady going over the line. It was like, look at that competitor. Look how passionate he is. What Cam Newton had done that to somebody?
But don't you think there's a difference between yelling at your teammate for a mistake he might have made versus...
Well, no, Tom Brady's yelling at Ryan Clark, who was on his team, on the opposite team, as he went to celebrate a touchdown because he was upset with Ryan Clark said early in the week, and Tom Brady took it personally. I'd have a problem with Tom Brady doing that, but it seems that should be more of an outcry because he made it a point to go at somebody else on another team. I've yet to see Cam Newton one time do a dance when he was taunting the other football team. I've yet to see that at any given time in the NFL. So if that's your problem, that's fine. But Cam Newton's basically saying, if we win, you think I'll do the Superman before? I'm going to have the whole DC Comics if we win a championship. And if you don't like it, that's on you. That's not on me.
And a lot of that comes back to the ways we've accepted we want quarterbacks to behave. And Tom Brady, even when he's getting in someone else's face, it's under this umbrella of what we've accepted from quarterbacks in the way they communicate and how they operate. Now, Cam comes in and he's completely blowing that out of the water. And for some people, that's shocking and scary, right? It's scary that all of a sudden this position that they've become accustomed to being occupied in a certain way now looks very different to them, and they don't like it.